Hi there. Welcome to my podcast. My name is Mike Bankhead. I am a bass player and songwriter from the Jam City, Dayton, Ohio. Today's episode features another artist from the Gem City. It is Mariah J, a wonderfully talented singer and songwriter. It's really a privilege to have her with me today on the You Could Be My Aramis podcast. We talk about her latest album, we get into her creative process, and I'm going to invite you to come to a show that she is playing in August. Let's get to the conversation. Hey there, Mariah J.
Hey.
I have so much to ask you and so little time. How about let's start, I'll let you talk. Tell the people who are listening who you are. Because I know who you are. Let's tell everyone else who you are.
Yeah, well, I'm going to preface what I'm going to say first with I can't be put in a box. I have so many different things. And it's so funny because someone actually asked me that question earlier this week. And I had to ask a friend, like, how do I even answer this? Because I feel like I'm so many different things. But I found the way to answer that with right now, presently, I am a singer, songwriter. I would also say that I am a cultural strategist as well. I'm also an artist disruptor. And I'm just an overall creative being.
How do you find the time to be all those things?
How do I find the time to be all of those things? Well, I've had to sort of like reprioritize the things that I like give my attention to. So it doesn't really feel like it's a lot of work, although at times it can be. But I think that's just where I find the time to be all of these things because that's just where my heart is at the moment. So singing and performing, is something that is top priority for me. And then as well as just being a cultural strategist, cultural worker, that is just something that I'm also very passionate about. And it also aligns with just what it means for me to be an overall artist. So, yeah.
Since you just released an album, we'll talk about the music stuff today, but I do want to have you back on a future episode to talk about the cultural strategist stuff and the disruptive stuff.
Yeah.
But starting with the fact that you're a singer-songwriter, first, how did you learn how to sing?
I like that question. Yeah, I learned how to sing in different ways. I grew up in the church, so I was in my church choir. So that really helped and supported, shaping my voice and just being consistent, with, growing my voice and training it. And then also, I actually told somebody this a couple of days ago too. My mom one Christmas bought me this really cool, shiny red boombox. And she bought me all of these different CDs. Most of them, if not all of them, I think all of them were gospel CDs. And I would just, sit in my room, put a CD in and sing along with the songs. And it got to a point where I knew all of the lyrics to every song on every CD that she bought me that Christmas. And I would just spend hours in my room singing into a fake flashlight or a flashlight that was a fake mic. And I would just sing. So really through choir and then just through just singing all of the time at such a young age.
How did you go from singing all the time to actually making your own songs?
Yeah, as I think there was a piano in my room. I want to say as early as when I was like 6 or 7. And at one point I did start taking piano lessons. So I kind of knew how to play the piano a little bit. And so I would just sit at the piano and start like creating my own songs and melodies and things like that. So that practice, I think, started at such a young age. And at the time, I did want to be a singer, but at the time, I obviously was not like, oh, I'm going to put out an album one day. Like I never actually like thought about that. But I think that at a young age, that was just something that I always liked to do. And so I would say I started actually, I would consider myself a professional singer. Probably, I would say like towards the end of 2018, that was when I was like, I'm taking this serious. And I actually want to create my own music and my own projects and things of that nature.
Perfect segue, because you just dropped a brand new project, an album called Unfolding, 9 tracks. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So I just put out my album. It came out Friday, June 24th, 2022. And it's called Unfolding. And it's really all about me just exposing myself, honestly, in a lot of different ways, exposing my heart, exposing real life experiences and challenges that I've gone through, and honestly come out on the other side triumphant. It's exposing lessons from those challenges and experiences. And a lot of these experiences and challenges relate to just, my relationships that I've had with friends, intimate partners, relationships with the world in general. And just it's just me, like I'm low key telling my business. It's a lot of storytelling, but I'm also just telling my business as a way of exposing my testimony. And that is I think a nice synopsis of what Unfolding is in like all.
When I listened, I kept trying to figure out whether you were talking about yourself or somebody else in some of these songs. And I think for a listener, that's going to be one of the interesting approaches to take, is to try to determine that. Like, I mean, before I put the record button, I quoted your lyric from the first track to you. That almost feels like you were talking to yourself, right? I think you're pretty. Now what else?
Yeah. I think I go back and forth all throughout the album of talking about things outside of myself, and then actually like talking about Mariah, and those moments where I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm like calling myself out. So it's definitely a back and forth.
How long did it take you to make Unfolding?
I have to think about the songs that are on the album. I would say, and actually, this is a similar time frame that it took me to make my first project, actually. But the songs that are on this project, I wrote in a matter of, I would say, wrote and recorded in a matter of like 6 months.
All right. So this is your opportunity to tell people how talented you are. With who produced this?
So it is produced by 5 other producers. So the first track, Now What Else, I actually produced. It's kind of a simple, production. But
it sounded complex to me. I couldn't do that.
Let me not downplay myself.
No,
Thank
don't.
I'm trying. I appreciate it.
I produced that track. That's what you need to say.
Yes, I produced that track. The very first track that you hear, I produced. But other producers that are also on the album are Michael Breslin, who's from Dayton, Vintage Vibes, who is from St. Louis. I have Sun Swift. I actually I was in Atlanta and I was doing some work down there, and I came in contact with his music production when I was in Atlanta. So, but I think he's in Texas. But yeah, Sun Swift, and then I have E Black. He's from Dayton, and then I also have Slick, who is actually from Nigeria and is currently there. So those are the producers. But I recorded the album here in my own living room. That's also doubling as my recording studio. And I mixed it myself, did a lot of the editing myself. And once it was in a place where I thought was generally pretty, top notch, I guess maybe slightly industry standard, I sent it off to get completely engineered and mastered to Skyline 909. He also mastered my first project. So it's been pretty awesome to like work beside him and like grow with him too. Like I think my first project, my first EP that came out, like it sounded great. But this album sounds even better. And I think it's just a testament to like my own growth and to like Luke's growth. I call him Luke, but Skyline 909's growth as well. So, yeah.
I think it sounds outstanding. And that's really what I wanted to hear you say, because we've talked about this before, before I invited you on. And like, I don't have the skill to make a record at home. I hire people for that. Like, you sat there in your living room studio and recorded a record and mixed a record, and that's not something that everybody can do. You should be shouting that from the rooftops, self-recorded and self-mixed.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you for like, pouring into me in that way and encouraging me to like have confidence around that skill, because I used to downplay it a lot.
Well, here's
still kind of do.
You listen to a lot of music because all of us that make music are music fans, right? So something that I feel like more people who like, we would obviously like people to listen to our songs, but for the people listening, man, musicians that you like, they make music because they love music, which means we listen to a lot of music, which means that you have things that you like and things that you don't like. So as you are producing your own song, if you don't think it's good enough, you're going to work on it till it's good enough, right? I mean, you don't want to put something out with your name on it that you wouldn't listen to yourself.
Absolutely.
That's kind of how, as musicians, that's kind of how we approach it. I listen to your record. It sounds like a modern hip hop, pop, soul kind of record, which is, you should be proud that you have the skill set to make something like that, because, not all of us do.
Mm-hmm.
So
I appreciate it.
Here's what I want you to teach me, because this is not a genre I write in, one. And as an old guy, like, when I think about making music, I think about a bunch of dudes in a room playing instruments. So this is you're doing a different thing. So how do you get a song to go from when you come up with the idea for the song to this fully produced version that we hear on Unfolding? How take me through the process for how you do that.
Yeah, it's different ways. I would say my most common process would be that a lot of times I'll just ask producers who I feel aligned with sonically to like send me any beats that they have, if they're willing. Like, I mean, a lot of these people that I have relationships with, they offer it. They're just like, hey, I want, like, see what you can do with this. So that's really how I acquired a lot of these beats. But I'll sit with it. I'll be by myself. That's been my process for a long time, is that I like to be in solitude. And it can range. I'll sit on my bed. I'll sit on the floor. I'll sit on my couch, and I'll just have the song playing. And I have this one notebook that all my songs so far have been recorded in. And I'll just sit and I'll just start freestyling over it. And sometimes it can look like me just like saying one line over and over again until I have even the courage enough to like keep going. Cause like a lot of my music, a lot of the things that I'm talking about, it's like very personal to me. So sometimes it can be difficult and challenging to get out what I know that God is trying to get out of me. And so I have to like get out of my own way. So that process sometimes can even look like me being like looking crazy in here sometimes. But nonetheless, I'm patient with myself, and I allow myself to feel the music and allow myself to flow and start writing. And so once I have a song, and I usually come up with like the hook first. That's always usually my process too. I come up with the hook and then I create the story around the hook, or chorus. And so once I do that, sometimes I'm super inspired that same night I'll hit the mic, or I'll even just let the song sit and I'll sing it for weeks. Just when I'm, doing mundane everyday activities, I'll just be singing the song that I just wrote, just to become more familiar with it, just to make it feel like home to me. And then I'll record it. And from then, I'll add all the extras, like the ad libs, the oohs and ahs, the other melodies that are like in the background. And then I'll start to mix. And I do my best to make sure that like when I'm recording, without it being mixed, that it's already in like a pretty good place, as far as like making sure my volumes are correct, making sure that, I don't have to do anything extra when it comes to like reverb or echoes or anything like that. I try to have all of that, set, right from the jump. So I don't have to do super intense mixing. And then once I get into a place where I'm like, this sounds actually really good. And I gauge that sometimes with like having it played in my car. So a lot of times I'll just go like, even if it's late, I'll go like sit in my car and listen to it. Cause that's where I listen to a lot of my own music, is in the car. So I'll sit in the car, listen to it. If I'm like, oh, this sounds great, I'll, move on to the next song, or I'll like make notes in my phone on different parts that I know I need to edit. And I will go back, edit, go back to my car, listen, and I'll keep doing that over and over again for a little while, until I'm either satisfied or frustrated, and I'll move on to another song. But then after that, I'll just I'll send it over to the engineer. But I don't usually send it over to Luke until I have like a full project or a full couple songs.
How do you know when a song's done? Like, when do you know to stop tinkering with it?
That's a good question. I think when I get goosebumps from listening to my own voice, I have a pretty good ear, I would say, for music. I have a really good ear, not pretty good. I have a really great ear when it comes to music. So I know when something's off. I just know. But then I also have grown to this point where like, I'm not a super perfectionist anymore. So I also give myself a lot of grace, and I also allow myself to have those moments where, oh, that was kind of pitchy, but I'm actually kind of okay with how authentic that sounds. So I'll get out of my own way and I'll be like, okay, I'm okay with that. Like, because that's just where I am now, And so there's a lot of acceptance that has to go into me, actually knowing when a song is done. But I know when, I'm at peace, really, when I hear it.
And you said you generally write the hook first. So when you start, what's the first thing you reach for? Like, let's imagine it's songwriting time. What tool are you grabbing first?
Oh, I'm grabbing the notebook and the pen first, and then I'm either grabbing my phone to like play the song through my speaker, or even like through my my TV. But that's usually those are the first things that I'm grabbing: my notebook, my pen, and whatever speaker that I'm using to hear the song.
The first time I saw you do a show was at the Levitt last year, which congratulations for being able to play that place. I have not been able to play there yet, and I'm very jealous of all of our pals in the music scene here in Dayton who have. What a cool venue to go sing at. Tell me about your experience being on that stage.
Yeah, for the record, that was the biggest stage that I had ever performed on. As it relates to me being a singer and songwriter and performer in that way. That process and how I felt, I would say like I was nervous. I had never done anything like that before. That was the longest set I've also ever performed. I think it was an hour, longest time. But because that was, in my opinion, like one of the biggest opportunities that I've ever had, I felt the need to also share the space as well. So that was one feeling that was coming to me, was that like, yeah, I have all this time, but like, I also feel like I can share it. And so I had other artists come into that space as well, that I am like personal fans of. Yeah, the process was a little overwhelming too. Like that was my first time also like, performing that long also with a live band. And mind you, I'm also an independent artist. So like I am my manager, I am my, publicist, I am all of those things for myself. And so I was overwhelmed a little bit, but mostly excited. I learned a lot too with that process as well. I learned like how long I actually need to give myself to practice and rehearse with a band. I hope that answered your question. Like I was kind of all over the place, but yeah.
Sounded great. I really enjoyed it. And again, as an old person who likes to listen to people play instruments, I just love modern music and modern genres. I'm a rock and roll guy, but like, pop and hip hop, I like it more when there's someone actually playing the instruments, especially live, right? It just hits it very live. All right. So I only have just a couple more questions. It's weird because like when we hang out or talk music, I don't bombard you with questions. So next time I have you on the podcast, we'll have to make it more conversational and less like an interview. But what did your childhood smell like?
What did my childhood smell like? Gardenias.
For people, I know what those are, but not everyone might know what those are. Could you tell me what those are?
Yeah. Well, okay, so it's a flower, but like I never experienced the smell through the actual like flower. I experienced it through like this specific lotion and body wash that I would use. And I can't remember what brand it was, but I don't know. I always used it. So like, and that was literally the first thing that came to my mind. So I'm like, gardenias.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you just put out this new album, Unfolding, which we want people to listen to, right? Everybody go listen to the new record.
Yes, it's everywhere. It's streaming everywhere. So what do you do next? Like right now, you still got to promote, right? It's too new. Yeah.
And if you don't, like you said, you're an independent musician. If you don't promote it, who will? So you're going to be working hard on promoting this for a few weeks or a few months. But what's the next thing you're going to do? Or do you know yet?
I have sort of. I'm super inspired by this album. Oh my gosh. And it's also been really like well received. And a lot of the feedback that I've gotten has been super thoughtful. So I'm inspired to like keep going and to kind of speed up my own process when it comes to putting out music. I'm so inspired to put out another project. I don't know if it's going to come out this year. I hope so. That's possibly the goal. But I've been writing since the album's come out. It's been 3 weeks today. I've been writing songs like nonstop. I think I have like five new songs already. So I'm writing like crazy. I'm feeling super inspired. And then of course I am like creating content. So I have folks who came to the listening party and recorded it. So like there's like videos that I gotta like review and look over so that they can help me create reels, which I'm super grateful for. Yeah, I would say my next thing right now that I'm sort of focusing on is a performance that's coming up. It's Porch Fest, August 20th. And I hope I don't get the address wrong. I believe I am at 605 McLean, which is the porch I'm going to be performing on at 6 o'clock. So I'm, kind of focusing on that. And because I have the new album out, I'm like, okay, what songs am I going to sing from there? And yeah, just focusing on that, and also focusing on the creative event spaces that I want to host to help promote the album. I've had some folks reach out like, hey, I want you to do something here in my space. And so that's been kind of exciting too. So that's also something that I'm like focusing on for the fall.
Outstanding. So I Googled the Porch Fest site while you were talking, so okay. I can confirm that you are indeed playing 6 o'clock at 605 McLean.
Yeah, I got it right.
Yeah. People who live in Dayton or the greater Dayton area, I'm going to talk to you for a couple seconds. Porch Fest is great. It's a neighborhood in Dayton, St. Anne's Hill, and a bunch of homeowners there have very kindly offered their front porches, which is where the name Porch Fest comes from, sometimes their yard, but very kindly offered their homes to let independent musicians play on their property. This event is free for you to attend. Bring the whole family, bring your kids, bring your pets. It's outdoors in a neighborhood. It's very walkable. The music starts at 1:15 with a drum corps. The independent artist block starts at 2, and every hour the addresses change and the music changes. So starting at 2 and all the way through like 6:50 p.m. So you go see Mariah J, you'll be there till like 6:50 p.m. Because her set starts at 6. Every hour on the hour, different address, different musician. Anything you want to find is there. You like folk? There's folk. You like rap? There's rap. You like soul? There's soul. You like Mariah? I like Mariah. There's Mariah. I might be playing that as well. Not mine. I am playing it, but we're not talking about me. We're talking about Mariah. No matter what kind of music you like, it's there at Porch Fest. And again, it's free. It's a great community experience. You should go, and you should go see Mariah. I'm going to go see Mariah. Right? Was that a good advertisement, do you think?
That was great. Yeah. Good job.
It's the kind of event that even if I wasn't playing, I would go anyway. It's just so much fun. So I hope everybody comes to the event. So before we go, let's how do people find you online? How do people get in touch with you if perchance you would like them to do so?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at @Iam_Mariah J. That is also my Twitter handle. You can also follow me on Facebook under my stage name, Mariah J. And I also have a website. So not at the moment, but eventually I will be posting all of my upcoming shows and events on there. But my website is mariahj.com. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Thanks for your time today, Mariah. And how about let's talk about coming back sometime, and we'll talk about some of the other things that you do. Okay?
Yes.
But in the meantime, everybody go listen to Unfolding wherever music can be streamed. Thank you once again to Mariah J for spending some time to talk to me. Dear listener, I'm glad you were here as well. And if you happen to live in Dayton or near the Dayton area, in 4 weeks, I warmly invite you to come to Porch Fest. You can see me play a set at 4. You can see Mariah J play a set at 6. It's free and family friendly, I promise you. Also, if you would be so kind as to like or subscribe to this podcast wherever it is that you listen to podcasts, I'd really appreciate that. That would be helpful. Thanks. Have a great weekend.